What happens when the media goes too far? Barron Trump, the quiet son of a controversial president, takes a stand against the cruel mockery aimed at him. His bold decision will shock the world and change the way we see celebrity children forever. Comments below, where are you watching from? And if you like and love our story, kindly subscribe our channel, Life Inspirational and Motivational Tales that explore themes of love, unity, and patriotism. Stay with us always for interesting stories. Thanks. Let's start the story. It was early one morning when Barron Trump, the youngest son of former President Donald Trump, walked out of his family's luxurious Manhattan apartment, unaware that a storm was brewing outside. For most of his life, Barron had lived under the shadow of a powerful political legacy, constantly surrounded by whispers about his father's controversial presidency. Yet, despite his father's fame, Barron had managed to stay relatively out of the public eye. His parents, particularly his mother Melania, had fiercely protected his privacy, ensuring he could enjoy a semblance of normalcy despite being part of one of the most well-known families in the world. But that morning, things were different. The media, who had for years largely left Barron alone, began to turn their focus on him. A tabloid story about Barron's private life was the first ripple, but soon it turned into an ocean of negativity. The media began to attack Barron not just for being the son of Donald Trump, but for being himself. They mocked his appearance, made fun of his school choices, and even accused him of being spoiled and out of touch with the common people. What hurt Barron the most, however, wasn't just the unkind words. They were attacks on his very identity. For years, he had been sheltered from the harshness of the world outside, but now, the world seemed to be coming for him. The insults weren't limited to just one outlet. Soon, the attacks began to multiply. Media outlets across the political spectrum began to target him, some making sarcastic remarks about his appearance, while others belittled his intellectual abilities. Barron, who had been a quiet, introspective young man, found himself overwhelmed by the noise. He had tried to ignore the criticisms, to live his life as normally as possible, but this was different. This time, the media wasn't just judging his family. They were judging him. They were making him the target of ridicule, and worse, they were judging him for something over which he had no control, being the son of a powerful political figure. Little John? It wasn't just the comments that hurt Barron. It was the way the media seemed to treat him like a pawn in a larger political game. He was never asked about his opinions on his father's policies or his life in the White House, but the moment something controversial happened, Barron's name was dragged into the story. He felt like he had no voice in a world that was willing to judge him solely based on his last name. What was worse was the impact on his family. His mother, Melania, who had always been his strongest protector, was devastated by the constant onslaught of negativity directed at her son. Melania had worked hard to keep Barron out of the media spotlight, hoping to give him the childhood he deserved. But now the media had forced their way into his life in the most hurtful ways. For the first time in his life, Barron felt that his personal space had been violated, and he didn't know how to cope. The feeling of being helpless in the face of such overwhelming scrutiny began to gnaw at him. He saw the toll it was taking on his mother, who had always been strong, yet now appeared drained from the emotional weight of it all. He saw his father, too, who had always been quick to respond to media attacks, but this time, Barron felt it was different. His father seemed to be focusing on the bigger picture, his political career, leaving Barron to deal with his personal battle alone. And then it happened. One of the most prominent liberal talk shows aired an entire segment dedicated to mocking Barron. The hosts, well known for their scathing commentary on the Trump family, made cruel jokes about Barron's appearance, suggesting he was unfit to be in the public eye. They mocked his quiet demeanor, calling it arrogance, and implied that he was being raised to be a privileged and entitled figure. They didn't just attack Barron for who he was. They painted him as a symbol of everything they despised about his father's presidency. As the segment aired, Barron sat silently in his room, the weight of the words sinking deep into his chest. He had heard all the criticisms before, but this time it felt different. This time, it wasn't just an abstract insult. It was personal. Melania watched the segment with a heavy heart. She knew Barron was a sensitive child, and this attack cut deeper than any political commentary could. She had tried to protect him from the cruelty of the world, but this moment felt like it shattered everything they had worked to preserve. Barron had always been sheltered, but now it felt as though he was no longer a child. He was being forced into a battle he hadn't asked for. Barron turned to his parents, searching for answers, seeking comfort. But what he found was a shared sense of helplessness. His father was focused on his own political battles, and Melania, while sympathetic, couldn't shield Barron from the reality of the situation. The media had made it clear they were not going to back down, and Barron was their next target. In the days that followed, Barron felt as if he was suffocating. Every time he checked the news, there was another cruel story about him. He couldn't escape it. His name was plastered across headlines with mocking words attached to it. Even the school he attended wasn't a sanctuary. Whispers followed him wherever he went, and classmates treated him differently, aware of the media storm surrounding him. The doctor's previous response confirmed it. Sadness filled him, and apprehension. Last week, it was during one of these difficult days that Barron made a decision. He was going to stand up for himself. He couldn't control the media, but he could take control of his own narrative. Barron, with his parents' support, decided to take legal action against the show for defamation. He would not allow the media to destroy his reputation without a fight. The decision wasn't easy. Barron had grown up with a deep respect for privacy and had always avoided the limelight. But this time, he wasn't just defending himself. He was standing up for his family, for his mother, who had always been there for him. It was a battle he didn't want to fight, but one that he knew he had to. Barron began to work closely with his mother's legal team, preparing for a public battle that would expose the ugly side of media manipulation. His parents, though initially hesitant, saw the resolve in their son's eyes. Barron was no longer the quiet child he once was. He had transformed into someone willing to face the world head-on. The lawsuit was filed and the media world went into a frenzy. The liberal network that had mocked Barron was now on the defensive. They tried to spin the story, painting Barron as a young man too sensitive for public life. But Barron's composure in the face of their ridicule only made the public rally behind him. News outlets began to question whether Barron's lawsuit was a justified response, and some even began to criticize the network for its role in perpetuating an unhealthy culture of celebrity shaming. As the legal battle unfolded, Barron's story became more than just a case of a celebrity child standing up to the media. It became a symbol of the broader issue of media accountability. Barron's strength and resolve were slowly changing the narrative. He wasn't just a victim anymore. He was a young man fighting back against an industry that had long profited from public humiliation. Barron Trump's brave stand against the media shows that standing up for yourself is always worth it. Now, we want to hear from you. Have you ever faced unfair judgment or been ridiculed for something out of your control? Share your own story in the comments below, and let's start a conversation about resilience and standing up for what's right in real life.